Hello, this is Mr. Vargas, and this is part one of my maze game tutorial. So, the maze game is going to be a top down game where you can make the character move left and right and up and down. And this is going to be a multi part tutorial. Today, all you're doing is going to be worrying about movement, making the character move up, down, left, right, and also notice that I added different images and those images are called sprites in video games. So I added a different sprite for each direction. So this is what you're gonna have done at the end of today. But like I mentioned, this is gonna be a multi-part tutorial. I'm not sure how many parts I'm gonna make this, but I know I wanna add a maze. You know, that's why it's called the maze game. I wanna add coins that you collect. I wanna add a door at the end of the maze. And I also wanna introduce levels. So this game will have two levels and we'll do some sound effects. I might introduce start screen, end screen. We'll see where it goes. But this will be a multi-part tutorial and it will be more than two parts. Like the last tutorial was two parts, this one will be at least three. All right, so let's go. Let's get started with this. I'm gonna go to my games and we're gonna do new game. And just wait a minute. Sometimes it takes a minute for this window to load. We're gonna go with an empty project and let's go do our settings first. So let's name this. I'm gonna just call it maze game. That's pretty generic. Put your initials there. I use VR because I already used my initials in the first version of this, my practice version. We're gonna take gravity off. There's no gravity in this game, and you can leave the width and height as is. All right, next up, we're gonna go to the game levels and we're just gonna set a background color just to not have that kind of boring white background. I'll just pick a kind of aqua blue type color. Now we can start creating our objects. In this part of the tutorial, we're still gonna be just focusing on one object, the player. But in future tutorials and future parts to this tutorial, we'll add various objects. We're gonna have the coin, the door, blocks, and things like that. But for now, right now, we're just gonna add the player and we're gonna do all of our coding inside of the player. So notice I clicked and then I hit create. Let's name this type. We'll just name it player. And let's go to physics and let's just make the player movable. Go back to properties and let's draw the sprite for our player. So um, here's a tip about, well, let me erase this. So let's increase the grid size. It just makes it easier to erase. Now, when you're making your character, right now, we're just gonna make the character looking straight onto the camera, but eventually you are going to draw the character from different sides. So you might wanna stay on the simpler side for the character you draw, like, the colors you pick and just all the details, because you're gonna have to draw those details from a different angle. If you want to do that, that's fine. Some of you guys like doing artwork and that's fine. So for my character, I'm just gonna do like a happy face guy with just a minimal body, like what I showed you in the little example. So you can feel free to you can use that same design if you want. So it's kind of like a little shrunken smiley face. Then I'll give him some little arms. And it's okay if this looks rough because, especially mine's not going to look good because I'm going quick here. I'm sure you don't want to see me struggling with this. All right, now I'm going to use the paint bucket tool. Yellow, yellow. And now let me do his face. Little smiley face. Some eyes right here. Another set of eyes right here. And press OK. And now we have the sprite for our character. Now we're going to go to behaviors and we're going to add the code to make this character move left, right, up, and down. So we're going to use a trigger, a keyboard trigger to be exact. We're going to use 4 of these. And a lot of what I'm going to do today, it's going to be sets of 4, right? There's 4 directions. So we're going to be doing lots of sets of 4. So I added 4 keyboard events or triggers. I use triggers and events interchangeably. I'm used to saying events, but in FlowLab, they call them triggers. So you just click on this keyboard event or this keyboard trigger and then click change key, press up. So what this does is when you press up, this down on your keyboard, when you press the up arrow, this down bubble fires. That means it like activates and it does whatever is attached to it. When you let go of the up key, the up button triggers. So if you want to something happen when you let go of a key, you use this bubble. So I'm going to finish setting the rest of my keyboard triggers. So this one is going to be for down. So I'm going to press down on my keyboard. And notice how it says down right there. Now I'll press left. So change key left. And then change key right. And don't forget, you can always click what's this to read more about all of this code inside the user guide. You know, this it probably would be a good idea to just go through all of these. You know, I'm new to FlowLab as well, so there's probably easier ways to do some of these things that I just haven't discovered yet. All right, so we got the up-down movement working. Now it's time to set the speed, figure out what speed we want or what values we want the velocity to be get set to. Now, one thing that's important to note is the way coordinates work in FlowLab. Basically, the origin 0, 0 is up here, and to go down, so when you go down, your y actually gets larger. When you go up, your y gets smaller, right? So that's a little bit opposite than what some of you might be used to in math class. And for right and left work pretty much how you would expect. Right, to go right, you have to have a positive velocity. To go left, you have to have a negative velocity. So you can pick what speed you want. I'm gonna go with a speed of 3. And so you go to your logic and math, and you're gonna add 4 number blocks. Okay, and I told you my speed is gonna be 3. So when you press up, you want it to be -3 because remember what I said. So notice I'm clicking here on current value and I'm setting it to -3. Remember, to go up, you have to have a velocity that's negative because the coordinates get positive as you go down. So to go down, you use 3. To go up, you do -3. That makes your character move up. And the same, and then over here for left, it's going to be -3, and for right, it's going to be 3. All right, so now we just have to wire these. So the down, whenever you press down, we want to do something with this -3. We haven't decided what yet. We're going to connect this all to a velocity block, but we'll do that in a little bit. When you press down on your keyboard, we want to eventually set the x to 3. When we press left, we're going to do -3. And when we press right, we're going to do +3. All right, so what are we going to do with these numbers? We're going to set the velocity of the main character. Remember, right now we're in the behavior code for the main character. So let's go to components. And where is velocity? Velocity, is it? Oh, no, it's actually under properties. Properties, velocity. All right, so now we got to make sure we wire these the correct way. All right, so Y. For what, like the up and the down keys are what should set Y. X, it's going to be the left and the right keys. So when the person presses left, -3 gets sent to the X of the velocity of the main character of the player. And the same thing with right. Right gets sent to the X. All right, so let's test our code. I'm going to move this out the way. Let's hit play. And look, he moves left, right, up, down. But there's a problem. When I let go of the keyboard, look at what happens. He keeps moving in that direction. He also goes off the screen, but that's just because we haven't added any blocks yet. So we need whenever you let go of the keyboard, we need the velocity to get set to 0. Because what's going on right now is when you press up, your velocity gets set to -3, and then it just stays -3, even if you let go of up. So we need to make it so that when you do let go of any key, the velocities go to 0 so that it stops moving. So we're gonna add another number block for this, and sometimes it's hard to see. It added it right here, so 0. And now you hold on 1 second. Now you just connect the up of each keyboard event to the 0, to the in of 0, and then set it, then the out connected to the X and the Y. So let's test our game now. So I'm gonna move this code out of the way a little bit. Let's hit play. So you press, and I let go of the key, and notice it stops. And it stops moving. All right, so we have 4-way movement working. We are done with the first part of this tutorial. Now it is time to, or we're done with the first segment of this tutorial. Now it's time to add our animations. So let's click on the character. Actually, I want to move this code down. Why is it not letting me move the code? Oh, I have to stop it. That's why. It was still active. All right, and then I'm going to press down, or I'm going to press stop. I'm going to press OK. So the reason I needed to get out of there is because we have to add our sprites now. So we're not in behaviors for the moment. Instead, we're going to click Edit Sprite. And the way, there might be other ways to do this, but the way I discovered, or the way I figured out how to make the character look in different directions is by adding animations. Now, my character is not animated. I didn't add multiple frames to this. This is something we'll cover in the future, but this is how I did it. So I added animations. You click over here for pick animation, click create new, and we're going to call it front. And then we're going to do create new again, and now we're going to call it back. Then we're going to do create new one more time. We'll call it left. And then we're going to do another create new, and you guessed it, right. Okay, so now we have to do some hard work, or I don't know if it's hard work, but maybe tedious and frustrating work, because this image editor is on the more basic side. But we need to change these images so that it actually looks like the direction that it's named after. So front is all set. We got to do back though. So if this little character, if you had pressed up and you see the back of this character, you wouldn't see his face. So let's draw his face out of here. And honestly, you could just leave it right here if you want. You know, you could change things a little bit. You could add some hair. Maybe I'll add some hair. Even though you didn't really see any hair when he was looking forward. So you could go back and edit the front so it looks like he actually has some hair, but I'll just do that. All right, so I'm done with back. Now let's do left. So left, he's gonna be looking this way, you know, so you're not gonna see his arms by his side. I'm gonna use the eraser tool, increase my grid size maybe a little bit. Maybe not too much. All right, so let's erase. And you'll see what I'm doing in a second. Even his legs, I think they should be a little bit thinner when you're looking from the side. All right. So he's looking left, so maybe I'll make his head a little bit not as wide. All right, and this will start looking like something in a second, I promise. All right, let's make that yellow. Let's get rid of his smile and his eyes over here. So if you notice, I picked the yellow. I'm going over it in yellow. Let's see what else. You know what? I think the face sticks out a little bit too much. Okay. Now I am going to go make my grid smaller. Now I'm going to select black, and I'm going to redo my outline. I didn't want to do that. I'll leave it. Again, you don't have to be perfect with this. And let's do a little character like this. Draw a little arm sideways. I don't like how that looks. Let me erase that. Let me and all right, now let's do his face. So a smile and an eye. Okay. So that's my left. And let me see. I'm gonna erase that. So that's left. So I have front, I have back, I have left. Now I gotta do right. And I wish that it had a feature that just lets you copy it and then flip it, but I haven't seen anything like that. So you know, later on we'll learn some new image editors, but for now we'll just, again, it doesn't really matter. I actually want you to, I think this image editor can come in handy for like little changes. So I do want you to be somewhat familiar with it, which is why I'm making you guys use it. So let's see, I'm just looking at the left again. Try to make it look somewhat like that. But you'll see, you know, this picture is so small that when you actually run it, like even if it looks kind of like not even, like it doesn't look great in the close up, you'll see that when you run it, it's so small that it looks fine. And even if it doesn't look fine, that's okay. This is not our final game. We're just learning how to use FlowLab. Let me increase this a little bit, or decrease it, I guess. We're just learning how to use FlowLab. When we actually do a final project, you guys can really make sure you put your time into the visuals. All right, and let me get rid of this face. Oh, I got my eraser tool. I guess I prefer to use just fill it in yellow. Let me use the eraser tool to get rid of this. And now let's see, pencil tool. Make this yellow. Do the outline of our body. Ugh. Being a little sloppy here, but like I said, you're not going to be graded on the quality of your image. Here's our little face. Do our little arm. All right, and let's see how that looks. See left. Oh, right. Looks a little different, but like I said, that's fine. All right, so we're done with our animations. We've done our 4 directions. We're gonna press OK. We're gonna press, or we created our animations where we haven't coded it yet. Now we go back into behaviors. And what we wanna do is we wanna make it so that when you press these keys, it does, in addition to setting the velocity, we wanna set the correct frame of the animation. So I'm moving this code up a little bit because I'm gonna need some space. And we're gonna go to the properties category, and there is an animation block. So we're gonna add 4 animation blocks. All right, so we got 4 animation blocks. Things are getting a little cramped down here, but that's okay. All right, so this right now you see the animation is set to the back. We will leave that one as back. We need to also do front. So let's do front over here. Let's do left over here. And let's do right. Oh, and something else that we need to set for all of these is click it on stay on the last frame when done. because remember these are not really even animations. These are just images. If you don't click that, it'll just flash to that left animation and then it goes back to the default. So you want to set these all to stay on last frame when done. All right. So we have our animation blocks. Now we just need to wire it. So when you press down on right, you want the right block animation. And I clicked it to the start. You might be able to use these as well, but start just worked for me, so I kept it there. Left keyboard, we connected to the start of the left animation block. The down keyboard goes to the, so think about it, you look down when you're going, when your front is facing. So when you press down, you want the front of the character to look at you. And then up, I gotta move up a little bit. When you press up, we want to see the back of the character. Okay, so let's move this out the way and let's hit play. So you see, so it looks like it's working. So this is, and now you're done with this part of the tutorial. This is the end of part one. You got four-way motion and you got your sprites triggering correctly. Okay, so thank you for listening. Good luck. And if you have any questions, let me know.